If you like to laugh, and who doesn't, then you've come to the right place. Welcome to My Funny House with the Powell brothers. Frank Powell is a real estate broker who was born and raised in San Diego, along with Frank's brother Mark, a real estate broker who also lives in San Diego. Each week, the Powell brothers bring in a special guest comedian to share hilarious real estate stories so you can learn what can go really right and what can go really wrong with home improvements and home ownership. So now, let's get into it with My Funny House. Here are your hosts, Frank and Mark Powell on The Answer San Diego.
Good morning, San Diego. Welcome to My Funny House with the Powell brothers. My name is Mark Powell. I'm a real estate broker here in San Diego, and I'm sitting next to my brother, Frank Powell, who's also a real estate broker.
Good morning, everyone. This is Frank. Thank you for tuning in. We got some real loyal people listening to us. So today we're going to ask some questions that you guys want us to answer. But before we start, I want to introduce our co-host and producer, Maria Herman.
Yes. Oh, wait. Where's my little golf clap?
Yes.
That little...
Maria Herman is typically all over the world. She travels a lot. She has a good comedy show. She's her own stand-up, very well known. But today we're lucky because we finally have her in studio sitting by us. So for all of you guys out there, watch us on My Funny House with the Powell Brothers on YouTube, and you get to see all of us.
Yes, you get to see all of it. And if you have not been to one of Maria's shows, you need to go because it's she can say and do things differently on stage than she can when we're sitting here with a bunch of FCC guidelines.
That's such an endorsement for me being funny. Well, she does it differently. Not like this.
No.
Hopefully better, but not like this.
No, she does.
She doesn't sit down. She stands up.
That is funny.
Totally different.
We're heavily regulated on what we can say, so Maria can do things differently.
Oh, no, you can just say I'm funny.
She is very funny.
Don't be regulated about that.
Okay, so our show today is frequently asked questions about home inspections because whenever a person purchases a house, generally they get a home inspection. We recommend them to get a home inspection. If they fail to get their home inspection, that's on them, but we will recommend them.
There's also something in the contract that there's a little check mark that you can put against broker's advice.
It is absolutely against our advice.
If there's somebody that doesn't want to do a home inspection, we totally say you have to do it, and they still don't want to. You have to make sure, all agents that listen to our show, make sure you mark that box that says home inspection against broker advice.
Right.
And then that you're covered.
But here's what we get, Maria, here's what we get. We get these people that say, well, I'm just going to do the inspection myself.
Oh, that's what I'd say. I'm really good at this. I know nothing about plumbing, but I can see if it's dripping.
That's exactly how they are too. They're like, I've owned houses before. I'm going to go through and do the inspection, but then they may miss some stuff. So, Frank, is it okay for a home buyer to do their own home inspection?
Only if they're a general contractor,
right?
And if they know what they're looking for in a home inspection. A home inspection is very detailed. A home inspection, by definition, is a general inspection, which if they find anything that they find abnormal, they will tell you to get an expert. I'll give an example. They go in the attic, they look up, they see a stain on the wood, which would indicate a possible leak. So the home inspector will say, please contact a roofing contractor to further investigate.
That's correct.
When I'm selling my house, I always like to get an inspection. And that way, I can just be in any room and at any time go listen, while you're there, can you also take a look at this thing on my foot?
No, that's like,
this is weird. Do you think this is normal?
That's like a physical.
Isn't that? Well, that's what the house is getting, right?
Exactly.
This weird thing in my basement.
The house is getting the house is getting physical. Frank.
Yes.
Some people say, well, I don't want to do a home inspection because it costs too much. But how much does a home inspection actually cost in comparison to how much
lawsuit?
In comparison to that's funny.
Well, what they do is
in comparison to the price of the home.
Well, it's minimal because what they do is if you call a home inspector, they usually go by the square footage of how much you're going to charge you. So typically, a condo will be like $350. A larger house will be up to $450, $550. Depends. If you have like a huge 8,000 square foot house, relatively speaking, it'll probably be around $1,000.
That's right.
How do you pick a home inspector though?
It's a great idea. That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Well, first
I look that guy. Is it a case of
The weird thing about home inspector,
I'll swipe left on this guy. He doesn't look good.
Well, I don't know if you can do it that way.
Well, you can you want to make sure that they're a certified licensed home inspector.
You can also ask for references.
Right.
You can also see if they've been sued in the last 5 years. You can see if they do it full time, how long they've been holding their license. We usually go for someone who hasn't been sued, has been in the industry for over 5 years, full time, and they can have a reference where we can call another house where they go and see what kind of report they produced. So you really should do your research, because you can get a hack inspector that misses everything. And we've had,
or you can get an alarmist.
or you can get the alarmist.
The alarmist
that
is
said, "Oh,
bad.
your house is going to burn down tomorrow."
Can you imagine if you were in your physical inspection? I mean, you're actually going in for your physical, and the doctor was an alarmist, and he'd just scare you, and you're panicking and making
they're
nervous.
out there. Have you been to the doctor lately?
Oh yeah. Every time they look at my back, they go, "Wow, you're done."
I know
It's not going to
just-
get any better.
Well, we don't.
Get
You
depressed.
don't want the alarmist, but
Yeah, but wait, we saw Frank's back by accident the other
Yes,
day,
that-
and I totally understand where the
Exactly.
doctor's coming from.
he needs to get.
You're done.
He needs the razor. He needs to clean that up a little
Oh
bit.
God.
So anyways, enough about Frank's back. Let's talk about what is covered under a home inspection. And I know Frank knows everything that's covered under a home inspection because he sells a lot of homes.
Well, the reason why I know is because I like to learn, and so I follow the home inspector, even though they don't probably want me around. But yeah. The first thing they do is they do a perimeter walk around the house. They look at the eaves. They look if there's any termite damage. They look at the ground to see if there's any water saturation, if any water is going up the stucco, how the drainage looks, the outside as a whole. If it does rain, or there are large holes, like Maria was talking about finding a pond in her yard after it rains.
Right.
They want to look at the electrical panel outside to see what kind of circuitry they have, if it's old, if it's aluminum, where that could get hot and cause a fire. So that's the outside, the stucco, if it's cracked. They look at the windows. They look at everything. And then on the inside, they just, they'll flush the toilets. They'll look for leaks. They'll look for any signs of water, any signs of mold under the sink. There's a whole bunch of things. Even the like acoustics in the ceiling, if it has asbestos in it, or if it should be checked out. If there's any asbestos in the house, they climb in the attic. They look at the insulation. They look at the beams. They look at any water stains. I mean, they do a very thorough. Yeah,
I told you he knows a lot.
right.
That's a lot.
And that's if you don't have a pool. That's another thing, or you don't have a exquisite outside. If they look at all that as well. Even the steps, like if you have a homemade steps to go up five steps, they'll make sure that they're regulated. 7.5 on top, 6 on the bottom, to make sure that when you take a step, it's not a trip hazard. They check everything.
I think that before you get married, you ought to have somebody like a home inspector just do a once-over of that person you're thinking of. It seems to me like you go through better steps to buy a home than you do to make your greatest commitment of
funny.
your life. Don't
You're
you?
But
I mean, if
Yeah, you don't get a reference when you're marrying a guy. You should get a reference. You should do interviews. You see if you get along with your
Who do you
family.
interview?
Exactly.
The ex-girlfriends or
Yeah,
ex-boyfriends?
absolutely.
I mean,
Oh, geez. No one would get married then.
No one would get married.
No. Can you imagine that?
That guy has a leak. What's going on? That slip looks a little.
smells kinda
He looks
musty.
slippery. What's happening?
Hey, Frank, let me ask you this too. Does a home inspection also include the types of plants and trees that are growing around the house? Have you ever heard them talk about that?
Absolutely. There are some invasive trees that if you plant, they will attack your sewer pipelines. One of them is like the Benjamin ficus tree, which actually the roots listen for water, and then they get attracted to it. They go around your pipes, and they squish it like a boa constrictor to get the water out of it, and that could damage how well water goes from your house.
I've seen.
I've had that at my house.
Yeah.
What?
They went for a sewer line.
Yeah.
Oh,
see?
really?
Yes.
What happened?
These are
Just what I said.
Dookie? What do you mean? What happened? They squished the pipe. These intelligent plants.
Jeez.
There's certain
Crazy.
plants that you do not want to put around your house. One of them is a rubber tree. That's also an invasive tree that the roots are very strong. They can lift up, a patio. They can lift up slabs. Pine trees really close have those roots that can crack your cement. And most places where you see cracked cement on the outside is from root damage elevating. So yeah, they definitely check the plants.
So, and how long does this inspection take?
Usually takes about 2.5 hours, depending on the size of the property. But even on a condo, it's going to be about 1.5 hours. They do a thorough inspection, because you have to understand the inspectors don't want to be sued as well for missing something. So now you could get a report on a good house that's 200 pages. So you get this report and you freak out. You go like, this is not fair. But the inspector has to write, even if there's a scratch on the wall, the inspector will note it because they're also worried about the litigation that's so fluent in a house when something goes wrong.
200 pages. That sounds like a very big property. Could that be on a small property?
That's on a small property. Yeah, I just got one 93 pages on a 1,100 square foot house.
You see what I'm saying? You don't get 200 pages on your prospective person that you're going to
you
marry.
should. You're absolutely
I want
right.
200 pages on my fiance now.
A total background investigation as well. It could be
Exactly.
500 pages.
So what if the inspector does the inspection, okay, and says everything is fine,
Right.
Great inspection. You look at the report, you buy the house, and then you find out the inspector missed something.
Well, the inspector will always miss something. If you put two inspectors in the same house, they're going to have different reports, and that's why you want to have a warranty. You want to get coverage on your house.
Right.
That's why you have earthquake insurance. That's why you have property insurance, and you have liability insurance. And if something you do find something, homeowners insurance would probably cover it. Because of course you're going to miss something. You can't find everything.
So okay, you have your general home inspector. What if the home inspector says, "Hey, it looks like this hillside is a little unstable." What would you do then, Frank?
Well, if the hill's unstable and you're really concerned about it, you can get what's called a soil sample. You can get an engineer, and they can go there and they can tell you how stable, what kind of hill it is. One of these is like on Mount Soledad, where you have sandstone as
Right.
opposed to granite hills, or Mount Helix, which has granite.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you're worried about a landslide, you can also get these people that they test the soil. They do a compression test. They do a potability test to see how much water is absorbed, and to see how you can compact it and how unstable or stable it is. They also do a burn test on it, and they give you a good report saying this land is fine, or you may need a retaining wall. Or typically with erosion, it's usually drainage when it rains. So you want to make sure that you have good drainage outside of your house so it doesn't fall.
So when I feel unstable, I usually go for drugs. But now I'm thinking maybe I should get a retaining wall, and that'd probably do the same thing.
Exactly.
How would I look, though?
So with the
Depends what you're retaining.
with the soil inspection,
Water.
Wha-
But I'm Chang.
That's funny. So with the soil inspection, that's one inspection. But what if the guy comes back and says, "Hey, I suspect there may be some asbestos in this stuff on the ceiling. It's called popcorn." I mean, it's actually acoustics. They used to spray this stuff on the
The
ceiling.
reason why I call it acoustics is because if you have a room that has nothing in it, you get reverberation when you speak. It's just like it just refracts sound, and it's loud. So what they did is they sprayed this acoustics on your ceiling,
so ugly.
now called popcorn ceiling, but it stops the vibration, it stops your voice from bouncing off the ceiling, which makes it a little bit more quiet. However, prior to 1978, there's some materials on that had asbestos. So you may want to get the
It was for fireproofing, wasn't it?
fireproofing.
Well, I mean, the asbestos was put
Oh yeah,
into
the
this.
asbestos was put into it as a fire retardant
Right.
thing. So, and it worked.
Okay.
Problem is, when you're working on your house and it becomes airborne, it gets in your lungs. You can get what's it called?
Mesothelioma? Mesothelioma?
Mesothelioma, yeah. It's a cancer that you get in your lungs. It's very bad for you. So it's considered a hazard. There are hazmat crews that will come and take that down. That's what we recommend, so it's done properly. And also that the stuff is thrown away properly. You can't just throw it in your trash can. You cannot put asbestos in the landfill.
Right. And instead, if you need something for reverberation, you can do what they do here in the studio. Just put carpet on the ceiling. I mean,
Oh, they gotta
it has
see
a
this.
very
Yeah, you're
interesting
right.
look,
So
I have to
true.
say. Carpet on the ceiling. You would think a mirror on the ceiling would be more interesting, but no, carpet
I put
is the way to
shag
go.
carpet would look nice.
Shag
right?
orange carpet. Yes.
You know, well, tapestries is what those are. But anyways, look, Frank,
Yes.
this is what, and Maria, I want to ask you guys this question. What do you do when you do find damage? Like, let's say the home inspector finds, hey, we got a little bit of damage here that was caused by a water leak. We see some buckling in the wood floors. How do you handle that?
I cry.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's
Reduce the price.
Yes.
No, a general inspection is just for that. Once you find something that the general inspector identifies as a problem, you get a specialist. So you'll get a floor guy, you get a flooring contractor, whatever it takes. You can get an electrician, you can get someone who deals with a roofing contractor. So there are other aspects to this. This is just a beginning. The general inspection tells you that there's certain things that you should check out and further
Right.
investigate, and that's when you call the contractors that are specialized in that particular thing that he
Then
found.
you'll know how to fix it. So
Then you know how to fix it.
I have what may be a silly question, but why do people wait to when they sell their homes? Why is it always on the onus of the new buyer to have a home inspection?
I know,
Wouldn't
it's
you
a-
just like sometime while you're owning the home, maybe get a home inspection and see what's going on ahead of time because you're owning the house?
Maria's good.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good
Maria's
question,
good.
right? Because we do that. It's
Right.
called a pre-inspection. It's
You
a little bit
do
less.
that?
Yes.
All right.
Do
Go
do.
to
Yeah,
that
we do
voodoo
that.
you
And what we do is we hire an inspector. They charge a less, and they give you a general idea of what may come up significant and what you can already fix before the real inspector comes, so you can eliminate that problem. For example, if you have a deck that has some rotten wood on the top of the railing, you can pop that off and do it yourself and reattach it and paint it. Then the inspectors, it's not going to be an issue. So you could take care of a lot of issues by doing a pre-home inspection and
Right.
get a report done. But typically people don't want to do that because they don't want the hassle.
Yeah, well, I'm doing that with my husband now. It's a pre-inspection. I'm sorry, you're going to have to lift this and fix that and replace these broken bits.
So when a person does do a home inspection and they do find damage, there's some remedies. One of the remedies is to ask for repairs, and it's called a request for repair. That this can be a very delicate situation in negotiating
Oh, yeah,
a
this
real
is when
estate.
people get
Frank,
upset.
go ahead and tell them what happens. Like, how does it work?
Well, typically, when you find something, like I just had a person that says, hey, the roof is bad. So he wanted a $30,000 credit to buying it.
Yeah.
But we find out that out of 3 people that we called, the roof is going to be $8,000 at the most.
All right.
But he wants $30,000.
Yeah.
I don't know why he wants $30,000.
Wants-
He won't flex.
Yes.
So that's the kind of stuff that you have that will stop.
I really got to stop, doing that, telling him to do that. Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, it's true. So this is when negotiation comes in.
That's when you have to have a good broker to mediate in between the 2 people.
But the other resolution would be just to repair the roof, correct?
Well, if you want to do that, you can say instead of your $30,000, we'll just go ahead and give you a roof and mitigate that.
Right.
However, that's usually not done because you open up a can of worms by taking off your roof. And so, but you have to decide whether or not you're going to give him a credit. But if it's all cash, you can't give him a credit because he's not getting a loan. So you usually reduce the price of the home.
There's some problems with home inspections that you just can't change. Like if you have a house that when they're doing their home inspection and they find out that there are power lines, traversing the property, or those giant green boxes
Right.
that are in the front yard.
Typically, an easement will do that. You'll
Right.
have an easement in your backyard, or you'll have an easement in your front yard, and you have this huge cable going across. And so when you say there's a big ocean view, but the first thing you're looking at is this black line going across the horizon,
Right.
that's something you can't change.
And that can be called out. And so you're kind of just stuck with it.
Well,
Right.
that's part of your disclosure, right?
It's part of the
Well,
disclosure.
that's called a material fact. That's something outside of the house that can affect whether or not you're going to buy the house or reduce the price. So the power line going across and blocking your views would be a material fact.
So if the home inspector does find, let's say they find a crack in the slab, not something too significant, but a crack, should that prevent somebody from moving forward with the purchase?
You have to understand with concrete, my friend sells concrete. He guarantees 3 things.
What are they?
It's going to get hard.
Okay.
No one's going to steal it, and it's going to crack.
Yes, that's so
Okay,
true.
Maria. Oh no. Yeah.
And the body will stay buried underneath.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
Right, and there's no one knows what's buried underneath. So when you don't panic when you have a crack. There's some cracks, if they're not spread a certain distance or elevated, making a different level on both sides of the crack, and it's just a crack, and it's just from settling, you'll never have a problem with that. And if there is a crack big enough to deal with, you could do something called a stitch, where they just cut the line with a heavy blade. They put some epoxy and they put some rebar across, just like if you're going to stitch yourself. If you know those fake ones where you draw a line and draw the little lines across it, just like stitching.
Right.
And they can make it even stronger than the first pour. And that doesn't cost too much.
No.
Last time we did one, it was $2,500. So there are remedies. So don't freak out when you see a crack.
Right. So
Well, I just freak out every time I see a crack in my slab. That's just how I am.
So the thing with home inspections is that once you get the home inspection, don't panic. There are remedies for it. Every house has issues.
Even a brand new house.
They all have issues. So when you work with us, we get a home inspection. We go over the home inspection with you in detail. We consult with the inspector. If further investigation is required, we have a host of service providers from roofing, plumbing, electrical contractors, flooring, all of them, so
Tile
that
setting.
we can help you through this process, because
Right.
it is a very scary process. You're actually spending, in San Diego, average house is $750,000, $800,000. It's a lot of money,
Absolutely.
So we require that everybody has a home inspection, because it's the prudent thing to do.
And it's one of the contingencies.
That's
When you're
right.
buying a house, there are 3 contingencies that you have to get rid of, and they have time frames on them. One of them is a loan contingency. You have 21 days to make sure you can get a loan. The other one is an appraisal to make sure it's appraised so you can get the loan. And the last one is the inspection. So you do these things and you check them off. Once you have the inspection, you take care of the request for repairs, you can get rid of that.
I'm just curious.
Yes.
Does a house ever fail? I mean, does it ever have no, this is
Yes.
an epic
Oh,
fail?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they
How
fail.
often does that happen?
Not too
Not
often.
too often.
But when they fail, we just will say, we recommend you don't buy this house.
Mark, do you remember the house we're selling in La Jolla? I mean, we all love La Jolla,
Yeah.
but I crawled in this crawl space.
Right.
It was a big crawl space. It was about 4
And it had
foot.
the carpet
it
on
would
there?
have to be.
Yeah, no, it had that huge 2-inch crack that
Yes.
the whole house was
Yeah.
sliding down the hill.
Yeah.
I was kind of nervous to be down there, and I told my buyer, I go, hey, come and look at this. I mean, it was like 2 inches apart. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I said, let's just pass on this house, because it looks like whatever's happening is going to continue to happen. And even if it does, it's just too scary. And this one section is holding up half of the house.
Okay, well, let me tell you what's happening now.
Yeah.
Maria Herman's happening, because
Yeah,
she is
we're at the end
performing.
of the show.
What's going on, Maria?
Well, listen, I would like to invite everyone to come and inspect our show at Bay Bridge Brewing every Friday night, and Comedy Heights at Twigs. Just look for me, comedyheights.com, Comedy Heights on Google.
And
That's my show.
Everybody needs to laugh. Go look at Maria Herman's show and enjoy life.
And if you want to get a hold of us for any real estate needs, you can call us at 858-922-7725, or look us up online at powellbrothersrealty.com.
And don't forget our YouTube channel if you want to see our faces and listen to us, because
See
we have
our
a good time in
faces.
studio. It's My Funny House with the Powell Brothers. Search it on YouTube. And thanks, you guys. We're getting
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, all my friends
Thank
and
you.
all the people are listening, and keep sending us the questions.
Alrighty. See you guys.
Take care. Happy Saturday.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for joining us today for My Funny House with the Powell Brothers, right here on The Answer San Diego. Join us next week as the Powell Brothers bring you more funny stories of what can go really right and what can go really wrong with home improvements and home ownership, and bring the laughs to you with yet another hilarious guest comedian. To find out more about the Powell Brothers, be sure to check out their website at powellbrothersrealty.com, or you can visit myfunnyhouse.com. Again, thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next week for My Funny House on The Answer San Diego.
Bruh.